Now, I take this opportunity to invite a software products industry veteran who has significant experience in product buildings in the domains of telecom, network value-added services, and communications technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have please a huge round of applause for Mr. Jayanta Mukherjee, Senior Director and R&D Leader, Communications Technology Group at HPE.
Hello. Oh, that's still my face. Can we have the hello slide? All right, we have had some sort of a compressed dose of technology already, so let's see how technology works out here. All right, so you can hear me well so far, I guess. Can you still hear me well? Okay. All right, so I'll use... All right, it's always very hard standing behind something as a prop in front of you and hoping to be authentic and speaking sense. All right, so I just hope that you've all had a great time as part of the Codeathon, and big congratulations to TechGig, hosting a coding event and a coding competition 10 years at a trot and still being relevant is not a joke. All right, we have held coding competitions before, within our premises as well. And I can tell you, it's not easy. It's not the problem in the code that is difficult, by the way. It's everything else that is difficult. All right. So the problem with the keynote in something like this is what's going to be key in the note, because we don't know each other. Number one, I kind of have some sense of your background and pedigree, but I clearly don't know why you have participated in this competition. And for somebody like me who's been doing products and R&D and stuff like that for a while, not knowing your customer or not knowing the context and still going out and delivering a product, I would have lost my job by now. All right? So it is in this context that I'm here to deliver a keynote, which is completely different from what I normally do in my day job. So what I thought, as I was wondering as to what really to talk about is that I kind of, every time we have a discussion around technology and technologists and problems and things like that, one tends to think of what's been definitive and in some sense, what's been the real lay of the land when it comes to people like us coming together and doing something about it, right? Now, look, this world has been grappling with some real big existential situations. I won't call them problems yet, but situations for a while. Think of working in or trying to sort of navigate a knowledge economy. Coming from an industrial economic context and a construct, companies and people having to deal with a knowledge economy and an information-based construct is hard. Okay, it's hard, and many of us have been trying to grapple with it. I'm sure whether you realize it fully today or not, but it is something fairly existential. We are also dealing with existential situations around climate change and all that kind of stuff and how technology can deal with it. And then there are other existential situations related to clash of ideologies and things like that, between societies, across nations, and all kinds of stuff. But one thing good has always happened out of these kind of situations, normally, and history stands evidence to that. And that is, we as individuals, as governments, as companies and businesses, we have invariably gone back and thought of, what is the most key of the key result areas that we should really be focusing on. So there are a bunch of KPIs that we all deal with at an individual level when we are within our projects and teams and companies. There are a bunch of things that we deal with. But every time you're faced with a real big problem, you start thinking about what are those big deals that we have to deal with, things that are truly important in terms of our focus, attention, and of course in how we evolve ourselves. So and I just hope this works. So in HPE, beyond everything else, we had said that we are in the business of advancing the way people live and work. Okay? Now, it's a big, broad statement, clearly. I mean, bringing it down to what it really means, it takes a bit. But all the same, we went ahead and made that statement. All right? Now, being a technology company, we clearly had to, we think in terms of a stack. All right? So we had to think in terms of a stack around this, and what we said that for us, we use technology in order to advance the way people live and work. And our stack basically comprises of the connectivity layer, the cloud, and data. And now you dwell into each one of those layers, look at how each one of those layers connect with each other, talk to each other, etc. And you have some sort of, as I said, a lay of the land. Okay? And that's how we go about dealing with this situation. But the point is, why is it important to discuss today, and especially here? And I said, like I told you, I've been struggling to figure out what's going to be key in this keynote. The reason I thought it's still important to understand what this means is that for a company like ourselves, like in HPE, yes, we have a way of peeling the onion here and figuring out what it means, etc., etc. But that's us. It's still not getting into the collective intelligence of all of us, and clearly, all of us are better than some of us. So it's still not getting into the collective intelligence of all of us to see how we could evolve this into truly advancing the way people live and work. And when I get into a situation where many of you actually volunteered and joined a coding competition to not just test your skills against the problems that are thrown at you, it is also a little bit of an attitude, which probably is going to be the most important thing going forward. This attitude of benchmarking myself against an industry, this attitude of getting in and participating in something along with my industry peers, without this fear of what this really would look like at the end of it, etc., and this willingness to participate in problem solving in a generic sense is basically what contributes, if I will, to defining what is called open innovation. Now, open innovation is a very big, broad thing in some sense, but the reason I wanted to touch upon it, especially in the context of, we started with these big problems that we see in this world, the situations that we have in this world today, from there to businesses like HPE trying to define their purpose in order to make progress towards solving some of that, and from which, again, organizations like HPE defining a stack around which to make progress and actually sort of instantiate all the, all the evolutions around that, to realizing that, we are not alone in this world, and we don't need to feel alone in this world, and there is a whole ecosystem out there which needs to be drawn in order to make progress towards some of the technology trends that we just heard from the previous speaker. Now, look, technology and technology trends are tools in many ways. Sometimes they're an end in themselves, but most often they're not. The way to bring to fruition this whole construct of solving big problems actually really needs us to bring an ecosystem together. Now, this is not new. I think technology ecosystems have existed even in the industrial economy for a long, long time. US universities at one time did a fantastic job, in working together with the industry, really, and getting us to some inventions that we are still so proud of, and not just proud of. We are actually, humanity is benefiting a lot from some of that. But that said, a little bit of a data, okay? Gartner had recently done a poll of some of the Fortune 100 CEOs around how well or how deeply are they truly invested in open innovation. And roughly about 30% of the CEOs said that their businesses were truly invested in open innovation, which means that 70% of some of the biggest companies in the world are still not getting enough out of this kind of an ecosystem and collaboration. Now, again, why is this important for us to discuss today? It's because I think each one of us have a role to play in this. This is not something, what you're seeing here is basically a NASCOM slide, okay? But the role that each one of us have to play here is as we, even if you get to your day-to-day of writing code and solving a certain problem, basically codifying an algorithm or whatever, remember that A, you are not alone in this business. You are not also probably a handful of people who are trying to solve this problem. There are a whole set of people out there who are either solving a similar problem or would be solving a similar problem, are actually capable of solving that problem, all right? So we always have this thing that when we are writing our code, how much of it is what we called closed software versus how much of it is open software, okay? And I'm not talking open source, by the way, over here. I'm not talking about the, all the legalities of, upstreaming your stuff, upstreaming your software and things. I'm just talking about how much of our algorithmic designs and the manifestation in the form of code is open versus closed. And this is something that I think each programmer influences, each developer, the way they go about writing their software influences, because this notion of bringing in open innovation lies very heavily on what are called open platforms. Platforms are nothing but systems which provide, as they say, plugs to various other entities to come in and play their part in it, and many a times actually improve sometimes the innards of the platform itself. So it is crucial that for us to truly make progress towards solving some of those big problems, we almost come all the way down to an individual programmer and how they are programming their way through a certain algorithm. So that's really this whole notion of, what you see here, open innovation finally gets us a cost-effective R&D, it gets us, it helps us minimize risk and all that kind of good stuff, yes. But none of this stuff will happen till the time we as individuals can get together and understand that we need to get to an open format programming as far as possible, while not giving away on security, not giving away on IP for your respective companies, not giving away on anything which is important for the running of your business, but at the same time doing enough that we are able to actually harness the broader system. So that said, if you really look at the partners in an innovation ecosystem, there are a variety of them. And I'm sure in your respective organizations, in your respective industry contexts, you would have bumped into some of these, and you'll find that even things like competitors play an important role in this whole ecosystem development. And people who have harnessed competition and competitors well have truly been able to navigate the so-called blue ocean of innovation, really speaking. Now, how this will manifest into each of your daily lives and how you go about your job on a day-to-day basis is something that you must think about. But there is enormous body of research that is available out there which tells us that our inability to be open enough while preserving our IP and our business, etc., will definitely lead us on a path which is away and taking us away from the stated goal. For example, in HPE, we are very conscious about it because at the end of it, ultimately, I need to be able to advance the way people live and work. Okay, so it is crucial that we understand how this whole ecosystem works, and then what role we specifically have within that in order to make progress. Now, clearly there is, like I said, there is a whole industry body of knowledge in terms of how things are evolving and how people have been doing in this space, et cetera, et cetera. Different companies have done this differently, different individuals have done this differently. Again, it's very heartening that many of you probably think differently about this topic and are willing to open up, are willing to benchmark yourselves in a much more broader way than just operating within your respective companies and respective professional circles, and which is what is important, because you will have to make this change going forward, because many of us, like I said, many of the senior execs today in the industry have spoken about this, but then there is always something that is pulling us back, and some of that is we know what all that is. I mean, I'm worried about my IP. I'm worried about how I'll collaborate. I'm worried that my system is really not open enough for me to make things better, etc. So all this, if you look at it in a country context, clearly in India, we have made significant progress on open innovation, but we're not there. Okay, it's easy to talk about some of the things like, academia, industry collaboration is not where it needs to be, etc. I think we've heard enough of that problem that it's almost cliche. I mean, I would rather that you guys don't waste your time on it. The point is, we will have to get to a situation where each one of us understands what it means for me. Because till that time, that is not clear. This is all nice, fancy PPT. Okay, so you talk about NASSCOM, you talk about anybody else, industry bodies who are worried by it, companies like ourselves, people like myself, who all have the good intentions of making progress. Sometimes we aren't able to move the needle enough, and that's not good enough. Okay, which means it's on you. All right, so. And the reason I believe that it's fine to say it's on you is because you have already taken a step wherein you've started benchmarking yourselves more broadly. This mindset is important. Okay, 25 years back, I did not do this. Let me tell you that. Okay, I was not participating in a lot of hackathons and codathons, and these things were not very popular in these days as well. But moment we realized that open innovation is a way forward, many platforms, frameworks, industry bodies evolved around this topic. But what is more important than the platform which is enabling the system is the people who are playing within that platform. So it's really, really up to you now to see how you can actually make progress with open innovation, because if not, what we heard from the previous speaker about all the 25 technology and its evolution of the next 25 years or so is, well, it'll remain good talk. So so thank you, and I just wish you all the very best, and just do what you're doing very well. But as you're doing that, just keep in mind that you're not alone in this world. The problems that we really need to solve are truly big, and it is important that we embrace this notion of thing that all of us is always much better than few of us together. All right? Thank you.